The race. Dated my wife for about 2 years, then got married and have been for 14 years. She was amazing and I thought I treated her well. Our physical life before marriage was so amazing. It was so good because I loved her with all of my heart and she was in as my soulmate. We have one son and made the mistake of working our schedules, so one of us was always with him. Please don't ever do this, it will ruin your marriage. I really feel our physical life took a plunge downward almost right after our wedding. Currently I haven't had slept with her in almost 4 years. I admit I wasn't helpful around the house as I should have been. We both kind of fell into habits when we were at home alone, me video games or TV, and we kind of kept these up when off together. This didn't start at first, just kind of started happening over the years. I would totally beg her for bonding and she would push me away. It got to the point of just trying to kiss her and she would push me away. Last August I started to suspect something was up. She stopped saying she loved me and I let it go for a while, then couldn't help myself, started snooping around her laptop. Came across an email to a girlfriend of hers where she was going on about how unhappy she was and wanted a divorce. I was devastated as I had no idea how unhappy she was. I mean, I was unhappy too, but not to that point. We also struggled with financial problems and I did not help her during those times. I would spend money and didn't care. Yeah, I know I'm a piece of trash, I get it. Well, some more snooping and I found a letter she had written but not sent to a guy she dated like a whole bunch of years earlier, telling him how she still loved him and wanted to be with him. I felt like I could just faint when I read that, like I couldn't breathe and wanted to throw up. I confronted her with it and she said she wanted a divorce. I admitted I cried like a complete baby. Well, she agreed to work on it and I changed completely. Everything she said she was unhappy with, I changed. Granted, I screwed it up big time and did all the things I shouldn't have. The whole following around like a puppy dog and whatnot. Should mention she is in mid-40s, me 40. She suffers from depression and migraines. I went to counseling like she suggested and changed all I could. Fast forward to earlier this year. She wasn't putting any effort into anything. I snooped again. I feel bad for this. Found a secret email account and a whole bunch of emails from some guy she met on Craigslist. Very dumb way to meet someone in my opinion. Emails suggested a meeting. I showed up there and confronted them. I played it cool and didn't crash a chair over dude's head as I wanted to. I got up the next day and she had the balls to be pissed at me for reading her emails. She said, it was only dinner. Like that makes it cool. We are at this point just residing in the same house. I am at work about 3 weeks later. I work nights and get a bad vibe. So, I leave work early and come home to just miss them in bed together. I confront her and she says, yeah, we had slept together. In our bed in my house like I'm nothing, just dirt or trash. Like our life together means nothing. So, I moved out right away. I am now living with her mom. Yeah, that's right, her mom. Her whole entire family have been so awesome to me, it's crazy. It's not that they just support me though. They just think what she is up to is so wrong. I have been coping okay with it, I guess. Some days are a total nightmare, like put a gun to my head and end it all bad. Some days I am so angry I want to cut her head off. Some days I cry for no reason. I mean, I once was a man, tough guy, no emotion, you know, typical grab my crotch and man up kind of guy. Now I feel like I have no balls, crying all the time. Her family has been so great though. As it stands though, she has it all. A guy that gives her a good time all the time. She said so on Facebook, making fun of me behind my back, our house and whatnot. She did come to me and want me to pay half the second mortgage. I told her she was out of her mind. Comments. The very first thing I suggest you do is get over feeling bad about snooping. You snooped because you loved her. You snooped because you were trying to figure out why she was so distant. Still, when you had put so much effort in to make the marriage work, I know you realize now that one spouse can twist into a pretzel to help the marriage, but if the other partner isn't also working hard, it's pretty much for naught. I strongly recommend getting tested for STD. Also, see a doctor to help you cope with the depression. You'll probably barely get the words out before your doctor will write you a prescription. The meds are not a crutch. They will not make you happy. They will just lift you out of the very bottom of the trench you're in so that you can think more clearly and make good choices. Good for you to have told her family and to see how incredibly supportive they are of you. That is a huge point in your favor. It is a shame that she is so far gone that this apparently doesn't influence her to change her ways. The fact that you showed up and she had the courage to say it's just dinner indicates to me that what she has grown accustomed to is walking all over you. She has zero respect for you in any way. You should not have moved out of the home. The first thing I'd do is move back in and make her move out if she can't stand to share the home with you. Moving out can influence your situation legally. It is especially important to do this since you have a son. OP responds, I now have my own checking account and there are no joint accounts. I know where the guy lives and am trying to gather intel. I will soon have his plate number and will run it to get all info. I haven't even talked to her about the marriage in a long time. I am 180ing it right now. The only contact we have is like 1 or 2 a week to exchange clothes for our son. He is split between us equally. Not sure I can live there as I am afraid I will go nuts on him, her and end up in jail. I work in a branch of law enforcement and will so lose everything if I get locked up. When I do see her it's like for 1 minute at a time and I barely speak to her. I am going to make sure it's even less from here on out. She tells me to come to our joint house to pick up our son, and then there are times when she says don't come. That's when I know dude is there. One more thing is this is at some point in time I guess going to end in a divorce. She will be keeping the house as even with alimony. She makes quite a bit more than me. I couldn't afford to live there by myself. I have started back in the gym. Not to brag, but I used to be in awesome shape. I worked hard at it. That is helping me. I am now running again and busting my butt to get back in shape. I just feel kind of like, man, I didn't deserve this. I would have never done this to her or any girl I was ever with. The pain is so intense, like nothing I have ever felt before. I have been out of the house since March 3rd. One shining bright spot is I have been paying large amounts on the one credit card I have since I told her I was done paying on the house. Also, if I move back and there is no way I can pay the bills there. I know she is really struggling, as she said so to her mom. I did talk to a lawyer about some of this. Her mom actually paid for me to go. He said, yeah, stop paying any house bills and don't fight her to keep in a marriage as it's over. Harsh, but I guess he's right. I thought about filing, but I am scared her family won't understand. I am also scared she will throw that in our son's face. He is 11 and he knows this is her decision, not mine. He knows I love her very much and have told him so. I should mention too, we are both religious. I know that shouldn't have anything to do with it. As far as I don't know. Times I do and times I don't. I don't love the person she has become. Maybe I'm in love with what I remember of us, I don't know. I do know I deserve someone who loves me, don't I? I don't know, as thing makes me question everything about me. I don't think so, as they have all expressed nothing but disgust for what she has done. Is doing. Most of them have tried talking to her and letting her know it's wrong to do this. I know my son doesn't know about the other man. We are taking him to counseling each separately, so from that perspective I know she has no plans to end this. I have considered filling. The lawyer told me wait and let her do it, as it will save me about $250. I know she could drag this on forever, and at some point, I will have to make a jump if I want to move on with my life. The lawyer I talked to is way too expensive for me. His retainer is $4,000 and he charges $400 an hour. My friend told me about his lawyer and he charges a bit less, so I may talk to him. I just don't get it though. What kind of person does this to another person? She was supposed to be my best friend. I guess she has no morals, is that right? We just have a house, no retirement or anything else. One car, mine one SUV, hers. That's it. We paid off $56,000 of debt in 5 years and were set this year to make some serious home improvements and start retirement saving. We had also talked of buying a beach home and renting it out. She always did what her family wanted her to do. From whom she dated to everything. She definitely felt constricted by them. She told her sister the same thing on Facebook one day. Wow man, you hit it. She is also used to getting her own way. She is probably the most controlling person I have ever met. As far as an STD, I really haven't even had anything physical in almost 4 years, so I guess I could go get tested, but I can't imagine I would have anything, but who knows. I will schedule an appointment this week. At times I feel like I'm going crazy. Yeah, she has made all the problems of our marriage out to seem like it's my fault. For a while it took all the blame upon me. I was racking my brain going over everything she said I did wrong, and I owned up to it to her as well. At times the anger in me wants to come roaring out, and I just know if I X her in the face as hard as I can, I will feel better. I would never do this, as that's not who I am. I have never laid a hand on her. Like Friday, I get my son's things from her and she says, "Have a nice weekend." Really? She is standing there in a t-shirt that has a certain character on it I don't want to say. Well, the secret email she set up is the name of that same character. So, she is right in my face with this. A month later, I talked to another lawyer who was recommended by my friend. The divorce should be smooth, he said. As I gave him all the secret email screenshots, asset would be split in half, but I wouldn't owe her anything, and I got a future ahead of myself. As for my son, because I have the higher income, and with the evidence I have, the custody should be easy. I still can't believe they threw her family away for some random guy. But I can't control what she does. I can only start to figure out what is next. Story 2. D-Day, February 27th at 6. I am in utter shock and disbelief. I am 24 years old and I have been only married for 2.5 years. I have been with my husband for 6.5 years. I've suspected there was something wrong for the past few months. My husband has distant and sad with all of these emotions coming to a head on February 17th while we were on the way to the airport for a week-long, much-needed vacation. We were driving in the car and all of a sudden, he just started to cry. Something he hasn't done since very early on in our relationship. He told me he was just having a bad day, which was true, as he had hurt his back at work early that week and was trying to sort out frustrating paperwork with workers' compensation. I didn't really buy it as being entirely related to stress from work, but my explanation was that he was suffering from a mental health issue. I honestly have thought for months that he was suffering from depression. We continued on our trip. I spent the whole time worrying that he was going to hurt himself. He was distant and spent most of the vacation on our computer and iPhone. Frankly, it was a miserable vacation, especially pretending to be happy around my family. At some point during the trip, he admitted he had a problem and that he wanted to get help and talk to someone. I came home feeling positive that we were going to get him help and subsequently help our relationship. I went to work Monday morning and had a good day. I drove the long commute home thinking about making a nice supper and having an honest conversation with my husband about how I had been feeling. Lonely. When I arrived home, he was still at appointments dealing with his back and getting back to work. He had left his Facebook open on our computer. I don't know what made me look, but maybe it was all the time he had spent on the computer on our trip. He had a message from one of his colleagues, who he has always claimed was one of his best woman friends. At first, I thought it was just a joke. His words jumped off the page. "I love you so much," that could be friendly, right? I continued to read vulgar, revolting messages about physical acts, details about what he wanted to do with her. Worse than just bonding. "I want to be able to walk down the street holding your hand and fall asleep with you in my arms." I screamed. I cried. He arrived home somewhere in the midst of all this. I threw my wedding ring at him. I slapped him across the face. He tried to talk. I couldn't make myself listen. I screamed more. I feel that all I have done for the past 2 days is cry and scream. What I have found out. It has been going on for 4 months. They have had slept together 4 to 5 times. He claims that the things he said to her were just words and that he wanted her to like her, so he was saying what he thought she would want to hear. I know the girl. She has always been rude and mean to me anytime I had any encounters with me. She has a child, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. She believes in open relationships, but her boyfriend who she lives with does not. I feel like I'm having a Sandra Bullock moment. She is the anti-me. She has tattoos, fake boobs and a vulgar personality. My husband is sorry and says he is desperate to make things work with me. He is talking future and says the decision is all up to me. I am nowhere close to deciding anything about the future. I realize his depression is no excuse, but I cannot seem to separate his depression from the affair. It is entirely unfair that I need to be concerned about his well-being while dealing with my own emotion, but I can't seem to figure out how to look at these issues independently. I don't even know how to feel. How do I even begin to pick up the pieces? I don't know anyone my age that this has happened to. As of right now, I am sleeping in the spare bedroom and he's sleeping on the couch. His parents know and have been trying hard to be there for me. My husband is seeing a psychiatrist Friday. I think that's one of the most complicated parts, is that I worry if I make any drastic moves it's going to push him over the edge. I realize that's not fair for me and that I shouldn't even be concerned about it, but it's hard to stop caring about his well-being even though I loathe him right now. I was contacted by the O last night via text. She berated me and called me to the lowest. Told me I was fat, boring, useless, pretentious. I thought I had been prepared for some sort of a blow-up at some point in time, but it was a million times worse than I could have imagined. It is shocking to me that someone who is supposed to be so insignificant had such an effect on me. She threatened me physically, and when I told her to stay out of our life, she responded with no problem. I plan on staying out of your life. I felt that she was trying to make the point very clear that she has no intentions of not contacting my husband, who has promised me to not have contact with her again. She alluded to the fact that they are still talking, seeing each other as well. Then this I received a text from her apologizing and saying that she didn't mean everything she had said and that she would leave and never contact me again. Again, nothing about my husband. It was almost as if she wanted me to feel sorry for her since she now has to quit her job and leave her home. Even though I know she has wanted all of these things for a long time, since her own relationship has been on the rocks for years, held together for their son. Seriously, how am I supposed to cope with any of this, or even make sense of any of it? Trickle truth and separation 1 month out. I feel like I don't even know who my husband is or has been for the past few months. It will be a month tomorrow since D-Day. I discovered via Facebook messages that my husband had been having an EAP with his coworker that lasted 4 months. It took me a while, but I had come to the conclusion that I wasn't ready to quit without at least making an effort to make our marriage work. We have been married for 2.5 years and together for 7. I was clear to my husband that just because I wanted to try to fix things, I couldn't promise him or at this point. He has been the one on the fence during this whole thing. He says he doesn't want to have anything to do with the O, but NC has definitely not been maintained, as I found out from our phone bill last week. They had been texting back and forth. He says he doesn't know what he wants. He has moved out and is living with friends 3 hours away. Some of our conversations go well, others not so much. Yesterday we had a great conversation about how we were both feeling, but then he told me that both his psychiatrist, he was depressed, and therapists think he should open his own bank account and a new phone line. They also think it is good for him to be away. I am devastated. I moved to our current city for him because it is where his family is. But I have no one, and now he is gone too. He is talking about how much he loves the place he is staying, and it makes me feel so bitter since I do not have the luxury of picking up and leaving. He has been at his job for almost 7 years and has great short-term illness leave benefits. I started my job 3 weeks before I found out about the affair and therefore have a first impression to make. On top of all these feelings of being abandoned, he told me today in the spirit of being open and honest that he had been using meds over the last 4 to 5 months. I knew about the week, but the fact he dabbled in something harder really has me shaken up. This is not the man I fell in love with and married. It is one thing to try to fix a marriage with someone that you have known for so long, but when that person has apparently changed so much, how can I find it in myself to get over the deceit? It's been 5 weeks since I found out about my H's 4-month EA, Pia, with a coworker. He has been depressed for the last year. I only noticed in the last 3 months prior to finding out, and he was about to X himself when I found out. Both he and the O have transferred job locations so that they will not be working together or around any other persons involved. Like OWP and brother of OWP have threatened physical violence against my H. He has been off on stress leave since I found out, and even spent 2 weeks with friends a 3-hour drive away. He is the one who is maintaining he doesn't know what he wants, and I have been clear that I want to make an effort to work through everything that happened, with no promises that I can. I am going through individual therapy, and he is seeing a psychiatrist for the mental health problems as well as a therapist. My question is, when is the best time to start counseling together? His psychiatrist and therapist have both recommended he spend time away from me, but I feel like I am at the point in my own personal journey with this that I need to talk through things with him. When I try to do that on our own, it always ends up in a huge blow-up because I am asking questions he doesn't want to answer. I feel like I need someone to mediate these conversations so that I can start to work through what happened. Ran into my H's AP while I was heading into the gym, and she was going into the pizza place next door. This would be vaguely satisfying if she weren't one of the most physically fit people I know. But she is. I totally froze. She was actually just going to walk right past me without saying anything, although the smug grin on her face said it all. I muttered something about her getting out of my face, and then she said, "Just getting pizza," and laughed out loud at me. Why couldn't I have been the strong, independent, graceful, and classy woman that I totally imagined myself being in that moment? Instead, I was a weak, bumbling fool. I'm trying to convince myself that it doesn't matter, because she doesn't matter. But that awful pit in your stomach, heart in your throat feeling I experienced just won't go away. Update 3 months out, still have my days. Just past the 3-month point at the end of last month, and I guess the best way to summarize is there are good days and bad. My biggest struggle right now seems to be competing emotions and triggers. I thought it would get easier when my H's affair stopped consuming my every waking minute, but what I have learned is that it actually feels harder. Now, instead of feeling constantly sad or preoccupied with what happens, I could be going on my life at work, or at the gym, or with friends, and then boom, he slept with her. That has got to be the most mind-blowing and pervasive thoughts a person could ever relive over and over again about their husband. Even now it still takes my breath away. I don't know how many times in a social setting I have had to excuse myself to cry privately in the bathroom or around the corner. I've even had a few pretty big meltdowns, thankfully around good and understanding friends. We are going to MC every week, and my H is doing about the same, and I see he is still very much so battling his own depression and now dealing with some anxiety issues as well. It has been about a week of him staying over every night he isn't working, but he is still effectively living elsewhere because all of his things are still there. I have no faith or trust that this isn't a temporary transition. He has been so unpredictable over the last 3 months that I just never know if anything is permanent. I am still majorly struggling with trust issues with him. He has become increasingly more transparent with details, text messages, and passwords, so that is helping, but I very easily get my back up when I see him slipping into old patterns like hanging out with friends who are girls, which has always been his way, although until the affair I would never have worried about it. I am struggling with own feelings of disappointment, resentment, and wanting to feel emotionally fulfilled by someone who never put me second. I want to work things out with my H, and we are working on that, but I wonder if there has been a flop in a sense, where in the beginning he was the one with one foot out the door, and now I am. I've heard it through the grapevine that the O is struggling. I have never been this type of a person, but to this I say, karma is a B. It actually breaks my heart that I could ever feel so much hatred towards someone, but I find pleasure in the fact that she is currently, apparently, off work on stress leave, begging her BS to take her back. He is now dating someone new and has gained 50 pounds. They have a kid together, so I am very angry at my H for screwing up that poor child's life. But I feel no sense of commitment to the O, who has been nothing but cruel to me since D-Day. And even before. O is moving back to town. Well, the B is back. Got the devastating news this and I have been reeling ever since. For anyone who hasn't followed my posts, my H had a 4-month EA, Pia, with his coworker. After D-Day they both transferred positions. My H within a 40 minutes commute of our town, and the O 3 hours away. Exactly where I enjoyed having her. The O and the OWM have now decided to work things out. I am actually shocked it is happening, considering the OWM had already started dating and had a GF. But apparently, she has manipulated him back into the relationship. I realize the irony of this statement considering I am also attempting to work things out with my H. So, what this means is that I now have to share a 5,000-person town with a serious class act. She has done nothing but berate me in the past 3.5 months, including telling me it was my fault my husband was attracted to her because I needed to lose 80 pounds and laughing in my face the first time I ran into her when she was down visiting her child. Part of me feels like I may as well run for the hills now. The other part of me is just deadly pissed off. To top that all off, tonight my husband revealed this deep dark secret about the O's past that, frankly, is awful, and I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but I felt like it was an excuse he was using to say, "You would be an awful person too if this happened to you." So, 2 things from that one. It felt like he was saying the way she has treated me is understandable given her past. Not okay, but understandable. And 2, it made me realize how intimate and emotionally involved they really were. No one shares this type of information with a random hookup. He obviously cared, or cares, about her, and that just ruins me. The secret isn't something I could use again without make myself look like a huge insensitive b her BF would know as well. And frankly, I would imagine that is half the reason he is working on things with her. It sounds like she is saying the reason she has done what she has done is because of her horrible past. Well, guess what, sweetheart? Walk a mile in anyone's shoes and we all have our baggage. I am in no way comparing her issues to anything that has happened to me. But for example, the fact that my H had an affair doesn't give me the right to belittle someone else because I hate the world. And it certainly doesn't give me the right to cheat on any future partners I might have if things don't work out between my H and me. My husband knows I won't put up with any crap from her anymore, but without breaking NC there isn't really a whole lot he can do about it. And I would rather the NC remain and I get some grief from her than they strike up a conversation again. I have thought about moving, but I stepped out of school and into my dream job in December. One that people in my position and level of experience, or lack thereof, rarely get the opportunity to pursue. Literally, I haven't met a person in my profession yet that hasn't started the conversation with, "Wow, you are so young. You are lucky to have gotten this job." So, leaving would essentially be career ending. And the O and her OWM will not be leaving either. My husband refuses to work in our town now, so he travels 40 minutes for work. Not to mention our family is here. He really royally screwed me here. NC broken at 5 months post D-Day. Things have been very tense between H and I for the last 2 weeks. No real reason, although we are both feeling very stressed, drained, exhausted from the last few months, and we have been working opposite shifts for work. Me days and nights still aren't back living together, although he came and went several times, and although things had been looking up for a while. It really is the worst it has been right now. So, I hadn't heard from him any more than a text or two for the past 2 days, and anytime I tried to get a hold of him his phone was going right to voicemail and his mailbox was full. Finally, I texted him and said, "Did I do something wrong?" He responded quite some time later that it wasn't anything I had done, but rather he was feeling really stressed because the O had been trying to contact him for the last 3 days. She had been calling him incessantly. Apparently, I found out after the fact she has broken up with the OWM for good and that her dad just died recently. My H essentially told me not to worry, he was screening his calls and had no interest in talking to her, and that's why his phone had been off. She had left at least one voicemail and it was just like a pocket dial type message with nothing actually in it. He was keeping the mailbox full so she couldn't leave another. He said she hadn't texted him at this point. My response, "Change your phone number." His response, "I think it's done. I haven't heard from her in a bit." That was yesterday. Today she continued to call. No real contact between my H and I as I was working. When I got home from work, he had already left, significantly earlier than he needs to leave. I found out from a friend of ours that he had gone to work early because the O had texted him saying that she wasn't leaving town until he talked to her and that she was going to wait outside his place till he came home. So, to avoid the whole thing he left early for work. Frankly, at this point I was doing backflips. Clearly, she is a B, but he was doing mostly all the right things, ignoring her primarily, although I could have used a bit more communication between us. Then he sends me a text. I texted her, "She's never going to bother me again." I could have seriously X'd someone. I think I had a mini rage blackout, like he could have changed his number, blocked her number, called the cops and said she was annoying him, but instead, he acknowledged her. I checked the phone statement and there were 4 texts sent from him. He told me all he said to her was, "You can't talk to me." And unless he broke that up like a word per text, that's his total BS. I am so mad, and I don't even know what to do. Part of me wants to hunt down the O and give her a piece of my mind. The other part of me just wants to quit trying, for our 5 months of talking has done nothing. Clearly, if he chooses to comfort the OW over her crappy life circumstances. I may sound insensitive cause I realize losing a family member is tough. But seriously, I don't owe her anything. They, I should really say, pissed on our marriage like it was no more important than dirt. Months later, Final update. The on again of again R is back on. Previously I had felt like when we were working on things it was going well, but this time around, I do notice a huge difference. My H is pulling a lot of weight trying to make things work, talking about the affair. Talking about how he's feeling and generally being very open and honest. We ended up spontaneously getting away together and booked a cottage only a few minutes from my work. I usually commute an hour and a half each way 5 days a week, so this was a treat for me. It was a great week. I would get home each night from work and he would have a beautiful meal prepared. We would talk, clean up together, watch TV, even played an intense game of Monopoly that lasted several hours and had us both in stitches laughing by the end. We both knew that it would be harder when we came home, but we both wanted it and still do. We spent 2 days together since getting home in our house, for the first time in almost 4 months. Today we had another great conversation about where both of our heads are at. I admitted I was starting to feel happy again, and he the same. He ended the conversation by saying that he hoped nothing negative happened because he felt like we were in a good place. Fast forward 2 hours and he's calling me from work to say that the crazy bee, other woman, I will from now on refer to her as Cow, called his work phone to say she loves him and wants him back. She apparently went off the handle when he told her he had just spent a week with me away, and that we were working on things and that he loved me, not her. She proceeded to tell him that she would tell the OWH everything. I guess so that he would be pissed off at my H, and that she would tell me everything as well in an effort to ruin our relationship. She ended the conversation by saying that she wished he pass away. My husband was devastated. He called me from work and was clearly shaken. He has told me everything that I want to know. I'm sure there is more to tell, but when you know your husband had a P as well as saying he loved her and wanted to leave me, who really cares about all the details like where or when it happened? Anyways, she did call me. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail actually made me laugh as to how desperate she sounded. I might even say manic, sad, pathetic and desperate. Everything she said in the message was either old news to me, desperate exaggeration of the truth, or a plain lie, like saying she was with him when he was in fact playing Monopoly with me. I won't lie, she said lots of things that stung, but mostly I felt sorry for her. She ended the whole message by essentially saying she will find me because she wants to talk to me. I saved the message just in case I need to go to the cops. How you guys deal with a person like this? You had any similar experience? Comment down below. Sub and bell and stay safe.